Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my random thoughts on Thursdays. And this week I'm going to be talking about finding silver linings. Alright, so since I'm sure a lot of you who've been watching my videos for a while know that my husband passed away, and it's over 5 weeks ago now, almost 6 weeks now. It's like I just, where the time has gone, I don't know. It just seems to be fleeting constantly. But yes, so I did lose my husband to depression about 5-6 weeks ago. And one of the things that I do is I'm one of these, annoying optimist people that is always looking for silver linings in everything. There's certain things that one cannot find silver linings in. The Holocaust would be one thing. There was no silver lining in there whatsoever. Things like that. But even in things as tragic as losing my husband, I have been able to find some silver linings in the whole thing. I mean, it's a tragic end to such a brilliant, wonderful person's life. And it's such a shame. Every day there's like, oh gee, I wish he was still around because he would have loved this and he would have loved that. And the fact that he, the brilliance of his mind is no longer contributing to the rest of the world like it had been, or like it could have been, and things. And so there's a lot of tragedy in his passing. Especially, I mean, he was only 41 years old, and we were planning this big party for him for his 42nd, where we were gonna do a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy themed party because of the number 42, and if you're a geek you'll understand. But we were gonna do this whole themed party based around the fact he was turning 42. And well, I don't know, maybe I'll have a memorial party for his 42nd birthday this year instead. I don't know, we'll see. But getting back to the whole silver linings thing, it's been, like I said, 5-6 weeks, and coming to the realization of being, well, I'm single again. I'm widowed, but I'm single. I mean, not that I'm dating. I'm nowhere near ready to even contemplate doing that. But it's reminding me of how much I enjoyed being single before my husband and I met. I had been single, I actually stopped dating entirely for about 18 months before my husband and I got together. I'd been dumped rather badly about 18 months before, and I was done with dating. I was done with guys. I was like, I'm gonna be single the rest of my life, whatever. And then 18 months later, there comes Dave into my life, and like, okay, hi, you're cute. But I wasn't actively seeking, and I was really enjoying, and one of the things I was realizing is, you have a lot of freedom when you're single. You get to choose what to do when you want to do it, for the most part. I mean, yes, if you have a job and that kind of thing, and I still had a full-time job at the time, obviously I have to go into work and you have those obligations. But when I wasn't, fulfilling my work obligations, I was able to, like, if I wanted to watch a musical on TV that night, or if I wanted to watch a soap opera, or, whatever I wanted to do, if I wanted to go out for a drive, anything I wanted to do, I didn't have to say, hey honey, can I do this? Can we do this? Do you want to do this? This kind of thing, where you have to kind of negotiate back and forth and try to decide between the two of you what you want to do together, versus like, hey, I want to do this, and I don't have to ask anybody if I want to do this, if I want to eat this, if I want to go see this movie, or do this activity, or go see that friend, and that kind of thing. So that's one of the silver linings that I'm finding in this tragic event, is reconnecting with being single again, and remembering and rediscovering the freedom of being single, and having that level of freedom, especially now that I'm in a really good place financially, which before I met my husband, I was actually in a really good financial place as well. I had finally gotten myself out of debt. My credit score was getting better and everything, and my credit score is like absolutely fantastic at this point. And due to no small effort of my husband, because he was a financial genius, and so he helped me go from, because I think I had my low point was like a credit score of 350 at one point, and it was really bad. And I was around 650 when I met my husband, but I was really proud of that, and it's much higher than that now. I won't say the exact number, but you know, I've kind of clawed myself out of things. I actually had some pretty crippling credit card debt that I've paid every penny off of every debt that I've ever had. I've never declared bankruptcy, never planned to, and hoping that I'm in a good financial place now that I never am tempted to put myself into debt again. The main reason I get myself into debt is usually because I have no money coming in, and after a certain amount of time, I go stir crazy and I go shopping. And how do I shop? Credit card. You know, I have no money coming in, but I have a credit card, so I'm gonna go shopping with that, and that builds up, and so that's how I get myself into trouble. If I have enough income so that all my bills are paid, I've got food, I've got money put away for savings, and I still have money left over, that money, you know, instead of putting it on a credit card, I go spend it, and then even if I don't spend as much, if I have my own money instead of using a credit card, with a credit card I'll spend way more than I should. You know, just using my own money, it limits me, but as long as I have a chance to go out and just buy a little bit of here and there, like a new t-shirt, a new hoodie, a new pair of shoes, whatever, just a little bit of something, and it helps me get past that stir craziness. Because yes, I have a spending habit, and that's a big issue that I've always struggled with. But I'm in a good place right now financially, and as long as I keep working and everything else. And there's another silver lining there is, you know, I'm trying very hard to expand my business. I've been trying very hard for years now, but I kept running into not. You know, like I was getting to a point where I could expand my business, and then I had to pull back. And oftentimes it was because my husband needed my attention. You know, because he was depressed, because he suffered from this stuff, I sometimes had to turn down work so that I could focus on him. Or like he really wanted to travel, so I had to turn down work so that we could be gone for a week or two. That kind of thing. And so now I don't have that obligation anymore. It's just me, and I can choose to, you know what, I'm going to put in 60 hours this week, or I'm going to put in 80 hours this week, because I really want to expand my business, and I really want to get more business, and, you know, add more subcontractors to my agency and that kind of thing, and get it to a point where I have a more stable level of income. But I have to put in a lot more work in order to get that to happen. And I've not been able to, because of the fact that I did have to focus on my husband quite a bit, and stuff. And, you know, I loved him to death. I really did. Well, to death is a bad term, isn't it? So, sorry. But I loved him very much. And, you know, but at the same time, he really was very needy. He needed a lot of attention and a lot of care and a lot of my time. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of my videos kind of started dropping off, because he started becoming needier and needier over the last few years, to the point where I really wasn't able to vlog regularly, except for when he wasn't at home. It bothered him when I was vlogging, so I just didn't when he was home, and he was home a lot more in the last couple years. So there's all these dynamics and things. So with him no longer being in the picture, you know, I now have the freedom to focus on expanding my business, and I want to start writing again. I've actually haven't written, I think I wrote one chapter, and that's it since everything happened, and I just haven't had the motivation or the inspiration to do any more writing. But I want to get back into it. I want to do more. I've got 2 fan fictions I need to finish, and then I want to go back to my novel and start the editing process for that. And now I've got the time that, you know, I can choose to, you know what, instead of going out for dinner with my husband like he would have wanted to, I can now take that 2-3 hours, and I can focus on working on my novel. I can focus on finishing a project for a client. You know, I can do things that I wasn't able to before because of the amount of time and energy that I had to spend focusing on him. And, you know, as much as I loved him, and as much as I needed him in my life as well, you know, he always needed a little bit more than I did. And I actually needed, you know, alone time. And that's another thing is, you know, between my work and his needs, I didn't get as much time alone to myself. And so I would sometimes turn down work just so that I could focus a little bit on just me just, playing an hour of Dragon Age here and there. I mean, I actually, it took me a long time to finish all the games just because of the fact that I wasn't able to sit there for, 8 hours straight playing. It was like an hour here, 2 hours there, that kind of thing. So as much as it sounds like I'm probably, on my gaming computer all the time, I'm really not. And even though he's gone, and I could be sitting here playing video games all day long, I'm not. I've got other priorities in my life. I've got my business and things, and I need the money to keep coming in because his estate's still in limbo because of probate and all this stuff. And there's a black lining right there is the whole probate court thing and having to wait to get executorship so we can access his accounts, so we can figure out exactly what the estate of his estate even is, so we could figure out what's going on. And I say we because it's not just me, it's his family as well, his dad and his brother, and wanting to make sure that, because one of the things my husband and I talked about was leaving something to his nephew for college fund. So that's another thing that we're working on is okay, how much does his estate even have, and then how much is a reasonable amount to put into a college fund or put towards a college fund for our nephew, because it's something that my husband and I both agreed on, is that something that we should do. And my husband in his will didn't mention my nephew at all. He mentioned the dogs. Number one, the dogs get 20% of his estate. Apparently I don't make enough money to feed the dogs by myself. Like, honey, I can take care of the dogs. But whatever. 10% is supposed to go to charity, which I completely agree with, and I'm gonna work with his psychiatrist to figure out the right charity for mental illness, depression, suicide things. I'm thinking possibly a suicide prevention charity, but making sure it's the right one and the money actually goes towards what it needs to go towards. But 10% of his estate's going to that. And then the rest is supposed to go to me, and then the rest of his family just completely cut out of everything. And I didn't feel right about that. I mean, obviously his brother, makes a good salary. His dad has a good retirement savings. So neither of them necessarily need anything, but college is expensive. We all know that. And I don't want my nephew to go into crippling debt to go to college. Now, he might not end up going to college, but considering his family lineage and how smart he is at not quite 4 years old yet, he seems to me like he's probably going to be an engineer, just like his uncle and his dad, and his grandpa and his great-grandpa and his, there's a lot of engineers in his family. He's definitely got the engineering mind. He might go musical like his mom as well, but I don't know. He's just a smart kid, and there's a very high likelihood he'll go to college. And between myself and his dad and his grandparents, we want to make sure he has a chance to go to college. So, we're kind of circumventing my husband's wishes a little bit on that one. But my husband wasn't necessarily thinking that clearly on his last day when he wrote and scribbled down this silly old will and everything. So, so we're working on all of that. But in the meantime, I've got my own goals. I've got my own priorities that I want to focus on, and the fact that I can focus on my business, and my business is actually doing quite well this quarter, which I'm really thrilled about. And so I've got enough of my own money coming in, which is such a relief, that I don't have to sit here worrying about, look, I can't access my husband's accounts, but I need to buy groceries next week or pay the mortgage. And the mortgage is actually still coming out of his savings account, but since I can't access it, I can't stop it or change it or anything. It's just going to keep doing it automatically. So I'm grateful for that's set up so that I don't have to worry about it. And there's enough money in the account that it'll take like a year. He's got a year's worth of money in that account that will cover the mortgage payments. And before the end of the year, I want to be able to sell. We have a rental property, so I'm going to sell that and use the proceeds to pay off the mortgage. That way I don't have a mortgage payment, because that's just yet another burden that I don't want to have to worry about, because that's one piece of debt that technically I have. I mean, it was our debt, but that he's gone, it's my debt, and so I want to pay that off. I wanna try and live as debt free as possible. The only debt I'm allowing myself is any kind of business debt. I just bought a new computer, and it's a pretty fancy computer. I splurged a little bit on it, but my old computer was dying. It was 6 years old, and I'd replaced and upgraded almost every component in it except for the motherboard and processor, and that was starting to fail. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm just gonna get a whole new system. And so that's been kind of a process the last week or so to get that set up. But there's another silver lining, is like I really, it was a mix between a need and a want. I mean, I needed a new computer. I wanted a higher end computer, so and I didn't have to go say, hey honey, do you mind me spending $2,500 on a new computer? I just went and did it. And I've done it at least in an intelligent way, where I've put it into a credit situation where I have 0% financing for 6 months. So I have 6 months to pay it off, and if I just throw $500 a month at it, I should have it paid off before the finance charges start kicking in. So I get it without having to pay finance charges. So knowing him, he'd be happy with that. He was like, as long as you're not paying finance charges, it's okay to use credit, was his opinion of things. But, so yeah, so that's sort of like, that's my kind of silver lining in all of this, is just rediscovering my freedom as a single person, and trying to learn how to be just me again instead of part of a we or an us. And it's making me realize that I don't know if I want to ever give up this level of freedom again. Will I, am I saying I'm not, I don't know. It's just way too early to even think about that at this point. But, even if I did date, I don't know if I'd ever want to be in a live together, get married situation again. Just because you do give up an awful lot of freedoms. You both do. I mean, it's a compromise between both parties. And while it's nice to have the companionship, sometimes having that freedom is just, it's a good thing. And if I'd have to find an awfully amazing person to want to give that level of freedom up in the future. And considering how much I struggled finding anyone, I didn't get married until I was 40. Yeah, I'm probably not going to. I don't. Never say never, right? But I am fine with that. That's the thing. Is okay. Yes, there's a good probability that I won't find my soulmate, my next soulmate, or whatever you want to call it. But I'm okay with that. I had a 10-year-long relationship with a wonderful person. We had a lot of wonderful adventures together. We traveled the world together. I mean, not the entire world. We never made it to Asia or Africa or the Middle East, but we did Europe and Central America and the Caribbean and things, and a bunch of places in the U.S. and things. So we had some good adventures. We were good together. We traveled really well together. We bought a house together. We bought cars together. We had a good life together. Now I get to enjoy, I get to learn to enjoy life by myself again. And, we'll see. We'll see if anything else happens for me romantically. I've got friends. I've got family. I've got my pets. I've got a nice home to live in. I've got a car. There's not a lot that I need anymore in terms of actual needs. My needs are being met between my business, my husband's estate, etc. My needs will be met, and I should be fine well into my retirement years. Between, I don't know if I'll get Social Security or not. My personal retirement is kind of paltry, but his retirement was really good, so that's good. I know my uncle keeps telling me that he's, leaving everything to me, but who knows how that's going to work out. And I keep telling him, you know what, enjoy your life, enjoy your money. If there's $5 left, that'll be great. There's probably going to be more than that left. Just knowing this, he's really good at investing and growing his money and that kind of stuff, and he's continuously doing that even though he's spending it. So, we'll see. We'll see how that happens. But I'm not counting on that by any means. And that's one of the reasons I want to continue building my business and getting that to be more self-sustaining as well. And on top of that, working on my novel, and maybe I'll have a hit and make money from it. And maybe people will hate it and I will sell 5 copies like I did with my children's book. So, I don't know. There's no guarantees in life. But I know that no matter what, I'll always be able to bring money in. Whether it's my business or if my business fails, I'll be able to get a job. I'm educated, I'm intelligent, and I'm not bragging here. It's just, these are just happen to be facts. I know I'm not an idiot. I know I'm not completely stupid. And I know that I have the capability of being able to get a job. And even though ideally I'd like to just keep working on my business or, making money writing or something. But there's enough work out there for me that I know that with my level of education, my level of expertise, that I should have no problem finding work, even if it's just freelance work or whatnot. That if I pursued it, I would have no problem finding it. I've always found work in the past. Sometimes I'll have 4 to 6 weeks where I don't have any income coming in, but eventually I find something. So I'm not too worried about that on that front. But anyhow, that's kind of what's going on with me and how how I'm finding, kind of my silver linings in all of this tragedy and stuff. And kind of glad I don't have kids. Never wanted kids. Husband never wanted kids. Really glad that we don't have any, because that would be, there would be, me and the children or children, whatever, dealing with all of this stuff, and that would mess the poor kids up too. If their dad had, succumbed to suicide, to depression and stuff. And so it's a good thing that we didn't have children, because then genetically, because his depression was genetic, and would have been a good possibility passing it on genetically to any children that we had. And just in the long run, between my messed up genes and his messed up genes and everything else, it's probably for the best that we didn't have kids. We've got, there's his nephew, and his nephew is an awful lot like his uncle. It's not like his dad too. His dad and my husband. So the two brothers were very alike in a lot of ways. His brother's a little bit more stoic, a little bit more quiet, and my husband was a little bit more gregarious and outgoing. But intelligence-wise, and a lot of behavior patterns, they're very, very alike. So that's probably why, because I know my husband better than I know his brother, obviously. So I keep making comparisons of my nephew and my husband because I see the similarities there. But it's a genetic family thing there, and so we the family will continue on through the nephew, and it's perfectly fine. I'm fine being single. I actually enjoy being alone. I've got enough friends. Like, I went out to brunch today. I have friends coming over to watch TV with me tonight. I've got friends coming over for dinner next week. So there's constant socialization going on, so I'm not going to be lonely. In fact, I'm starting to think about, like, I've got so many social obligations happening. I need to kind of pick and choose, and hey, could we, instead of doing it next week, can we do it in 2 weeks from now, so that I have a little bit of time to myself, because I do need a lot of time to myself. And I'm going to a conference at the end of the month, and I'm going to be like inundated with people for like a whole week. After that, I'm just going to crash and hide for a week when I get back, because that's going to be draining. It's fun. It's so much fun, but at the same time, it drains me because I'm an extrovert. I'm an introvert, and so social interaction is very draining for me. But I do enjoy it when I'm in the middle of it, but then I come home and I'm like, okay, I need to be by myself. I need to just, have some time alone with my own thoughts and do whatever I want to online, or read or write or whatever, to just kind of chill and relax and just kind of, get my energy back. So anyhow, sorry for this somewhat rambling vlog, but I ramble. That's my thing, isn't it? That's what I do. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, please. Give me comments, ask me questions. whatever, you know, I love interacting with people in comments a lot, so, you know, just talk to me. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.